Hey guys, today we're digging into that weird rush of needing someone, anyone, to tell you you're doing okay. Picture this. You're scrolling through your feed at midnight, eyes bleary, and suddenly a post with 1,200 likes hits you like a freight train. You don't even care about the content. Your brain just goes, why not me? And before you know it, you're knee-deep in your own photos, wondering which one might pull in a little love. It's not vanity. It's not even competition. It's a craving, and it comes out of nowhere. So, before we go deeper into today's topic, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You're not always like this. Some days you're confident, grounded, fine with flying under the radar, but then a trigger. Something slips out of place. Maybe you bomb a presentation at work. Maybe someone you admire suddenly goes cold. Or maybe it's subtler than that. You just feel a little invisible, and your brain, clever as it is, jumps straight into detective mode. It starts scanning the outside world for clues that you still matter. That's where validation slips in, not as a conscious need, but as a lifeline. Psychologically, what's happening here is an emotional disruption. When your inner world feels shaky, your brain tries to patch things up fast by outsourcing your sense of okayness. It grabs for feedback, hearts, nods, compliments, anything that says, you're still valid. It's not weakness. It's wiring. Think of it like hunger. You're not always starving for connection, but just like your stomach growls when you skip lunch, your mind starts craving approval when your self-image takes a hit. It's a safety reflex, a dopamine-driven attempt to self-regulate. And that craving isn't about ego, it's about restoring balance. Here's a simple example. Let's say you've had a chill week, mostly coasting, but then you get left out of a group hang. No big deal, right? You tell yourself it's fine, but later you're staring at your own reflection and something doesn't sit right. That's when you post a selfie, almost without thinking. And then comes the wait. Refresh, refresh, waiting for those digital nods to trickle in. Each like gives you a micro boost, a ping of reassurance. And while it might seem superficial, what's actually happening is psychological triage. You're using the feedback loop to heal a tiny rupture inside your sense of belonging. This isn't some rare dysfunction, it's super common. Emotional hiccups, like a passive-aggressive text or watching your ex move on, rattle your system just enough that you instinctively seek out replacement affirmations. It's like your brain shouting, quick, find evidence that we're still seen, still worthy, still okay. And here's where it gets sneaky. The more emotionally off-kilter you feel, the more tempting it is to pursue quick validation fixes. A filtered selfie, an impulsive tweet, oversharing something personal just to see if people get you. Because deep down, you're not chasing clout. You're chasing confirmation that your inner storm hasn't swallowed you whole. This is where the psychological effect called state-dependent validation comes in. Basically, your current emotional state changes how much external approval you seek. When you're calm, you can self-validate. But when you're stressed or self-doubting, validation becomes like a flashlight in a dark room. You just want to feel seen again, whole again. The good news? Recognizing this pattern doesn't make you weak, it makes you conscious. Once you notice your brain reaching outward for validation in moments of inner chaos, you can pause. Ask, what actually got shaken up here? Because sometimes the need for validation isn't about today's likes, it's about yesterday's wounds getting poked. And once your emotional footing is shaky, something else starts to shift, how you see yourself. Your identity, normally this quiet inner compass, starts getting dragged outward. Suddenly, it's not just you deciding who you are, it's how other people respond to you. Their reactions become mirrors. And those mirrors? They're not always clean or accurate, but your brain starts treating them like gospel. It creeps in subtly. Let's say you make a joke at dinner, and nobody laughs. It's awkward, sure, but then it sticks. For the rest of the night, you wonder, was I too much? Not enough? Off? You start replaying the moment, not because you care that much about the joke, but because you're trying to decode what it says about you. When other people don't reflect back what you expect, it messes with your sense of self. That's identity whiplash. This is where the psychological effect of reflected self-appraisal kicks in. Basically, you internalize what you think others think about you. It's like a funhouse mirror. You get distorted impressions, but your brain still uses them to build your self-image. And when you start relying too much on that feedback loop, every silence, every shrug, every ignored text becomes a referendum on your worth. You start checking yourself constantly. You edit your stories in real time. You send a text and watch those three dots like your dignity depends on it. Validation isn't just a craving anymore. It's a compass. If someone approves, you feel real. If they don't respond, you feel erased. And that's exhausting. Think about how social media magnifies this. Every post, every caption, every photo becomes a performance, a carefully lit offering to the algorithm gods. And when the response is good, dopamine surge. But when it flops, you spiral. Not because you care about the platform, but because somehow your brain linked your identity to that feedback. You equate attention with affirmation, silence with failure. A clear example? You finally open up about something vulnerable, mental health, a breakup, burnout, and it gets crickets. No messages. No, you okay? And your brain goes straight to, was I too dramatic? Too much? Not enough? That silence echoes louder than any words. It makes you doubt whether what you shared was even valid in the first place. You start shrinking, editing yourself. And that's the danger. Over time, the hunger for external validation starts reshaping how you show up. You don't act, you audition. But here's the thing. Validation isn't evil. We're social creatures. We're supposed to be shaped a little by others. The problem starts when you lose sight of where you end and they begin. When their responses become your measurement tool for being lovable, smart, cool, enough. And that tipping point often comes quietly. One day, you're just expressing yourself. The next, you're calculating. Will this make people like me? Will this keep them close? You start bending, shrinking, performing versions of yourself based on applause. And ironically, chasing validation this way never actually satisfies the craving. It's like drinking salt water. You keep going back for more, but it never quenches the thirst, because what you're really craving isn't applause. It's alignment. That warm, steady feeling that who you are and how you show up match. But when those social mirrors distort you, that alignment breaks, and you start shape-shifting, hoping that maybe if you change enough, you'll land on a version of yourself that finally feels right to other people and to yourself. Here's a simple truth. Not every silence is rejection. Not every shrug is disapproval. People have their own storms, their own filters. But when your identity's in flux, you start interpreting everything as commentary on you. That's the trap. So what helps? Stepping back. Regrounding in your own reflection, not someone else's echo. Journaling. Creating just for you. Saying things out loud before anyone has a chance to react. You don't have to reject validation, but you do need to reclaim your role as the first voice in the room, the loudest one. Because in the end, it's not the craving that's dangerous, it's the forgetting. Forgetting that the mirror you're staring into isn't always made of truth. Sometimes it's made of bias, projection, insecurity, or algorithms. And none of those deserve to outrank your own voice. Here's the good news. The moment you notice the craving, you're no longer just reacting, you're observing. That's power. That's the start of freedom. You are not broken for wanting to be seen. You're human. And as Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not the version people clap for. Not the version that always gets it right. Just the version that's real, even when it's a little messy. So next time that sudden hunger for validation creeps in, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I chasing applause or am I trying to remember who I am? Because the answer might be the difference between spiraling and self-anchoring. You've got this, and who you are unfiltered is already worth seeing.